Whoa, look at that beauty out there. Let's go and have a look at it. Let's have a bit of a walk around, a bit of a talk about this beauty. So this is a Tandem Bowers Flybaby, aka Hevley Classic. So the backstory behind this plane is it's a stretched version of a Bowers Flybaby single-seater, and in that centre section there were plans on the internet, still are, to stretch that centre bit there. Now the Hevley brothers, Eric and Hevley, good guys. I was with Eric at Oshkosh in 2005. He had this aircraft on my display at the Rotec booth, and I was pretty smitten with it. And so we chatted about it. And we ended up doing a deal where I would swap him some engines for the whole aircraft. So with that, the aircraft was Eric and his brother, I guess, pulled it all to bits, stuck it in a container, and then shipped it to Australia, where it's been ever since. And that was about 2005, just after Oshkosh 2005. And then I built the two engines and shipped him the engines. Deal was done. Now when the aircraft arrived in Australia, it came straight to the Rotec workshop in pieces, which was good because I wanted to change a whole bunch of stuff, put Australian instruments in which have got different measurements for altimeter and a few bits and pieces, different compass. And I also put instrumentation in the front cockpit, knowing that I'd be using this aircraft for some flight training, my flight training. I got my PPL in this aircraft. So yeah, and I also built a brand new engine. That engine was installed in 2005, and basically there was also some fabric damage and some bits and pieces. There was also some things that, respectfully, that the Hevleys didn't do to my liking, so I changed the rigging wires a bit, particularly between the undercarriage, changed the way the tail tail flying wires attach, and a few bits and pieces. And then changed the controls around a bit, just to suit how I liked it. And after a few months, I put it all back together with a new engine that I'd built, and she started flying. It hasn't really missed a beat. I did break a tail wheel. Now, what happens with a tail wheel? Oh, I don't want to change stories here, but very quickly. If you've got two leaf springs and they're anchored at both ends, that means the two leaf springs as a sandwich are anchored at the tail wheel and the fuselage. If you have a hard landing and the leaf spring flattens out, the two plates, because of the curvature of them, act like will slide on each other. They'll move. The outer plate will move in relationship to the bottom plate, and it's the perfect guillotine for the bolt at the front. And I landed hard practicing some dead stick landings. It wasn't ridiculously hard, but it was hard enough. Flattened out that tail spring momentarily and sheared the head of the bolt off that holds it to the fuselage. And of course, with the weight on the tail wheel still, the front leaf springs dropped, hit the grass, dug in, and then did a whole bunch of damage. So the entire, that old tail is new. The rudder bit is new. You can still see the scratches on the elevator where the tail ended up coming up and hitting. These scratches are original. This scratch here, where the tail wheel ended up on top of there's damage here, a little bit there. Tail wheel ended up on top of the elevator. So I had to rebuild the entire back of the rudder post. New rudder, because the rudder was smashed. Yeah, fun and games. Anyway, that was years ago. It's been good ever since. So, yep. What's different about this plane over a standard Flybaby? Well, obviously the centre section's been stretched to accommodate second passenger. The passenger is pretty much on the CG, and the pilot is just behind the CG. So that's factored into the weight and balance. The plane is otherwise the same. The wings are the same wingspan. The elevator was widened for some reason. I don't know why. Probably not necessary, but it was widened a little bit. I think a foot total. The rudder and everything is the same as a standard Flybaby. The cockpit width is the same. No difference there. What is different though are the flying and landing wires. So the landing wires, you can see they're nice and strong. These are 3/16 landing wires. You can see how they attach. It's a far superior attachment, much stronger either side of the slightly wider spars. And you can see it can actually pivot there. Nice yacht style clevises here, crimped. Oh, not crimped, I guess it's swaged. Never give me any trouble at all. Beautiful. And a very strong way of attaching to the spars. I don't like that kick-up plate system with 4 bolts either side, sandwiching from top and bottom, the Firebaby method. I just think that's a shit design, to be frank. I would never use it. I know others have successfully, many years, but I know there was one failure due to a guy flying with wires, flying wires, which stressed it out and it cracked across there. Of course, that could never happen with this one because it can actually pivot there. Much stronger, in my opinion. And the way it's attached there is good. Now underneath, it's the same deal, except we've got 1/4 inch flying wires here at the front pair, and at the back pair, 3/16. Again, really over-engineered, but I love that. I have no issues with that. You can see a big bolt through here, and this whole thing can pivot, so it's not rigid. This is a very strong, this is 1/4 inch plate here. This has all been fashioned out of. And I put the wires back to the center. The Hevlays had them crossed over, and it was causing that cross axle there, that crossbar to bow, which is no good. So I straightened it out and retensioned it with these braces in the bracing wires in the center, which has worked perfectly. And now I don't get that curvature, or don't get that axle bowing from the stress of the flying wires. And similarly to the landing wires, you can see how they're attached again with plates either side of those spars. Very hefty plates, and the same thing with a pivot sort of anchor, and same on the rear, except on the rear there, 3/16, 1/4 on the front. No problem. The wheels are pretty much standard. The leg is steel streamline tube. Matco brakes, nothing special there. It's pretty much standard Flybaby wheels. Of course, you've got your nice R2800. Now this plane performs, I would say, outperforms quite comfortably a small Continental engine, particularly when there are 2 up. When you're 1 up in this plane, it goes like a rocket. Fantastic. When there's 2 up, it still performs really well. I've had 100 kilo guys, that's well over 200 pound individuals in this plane. And no problem. It's a real joyride machine. I've used it back in the day. I'd still take people up on joyrides now, but back when I used to take it to a lot of air shows, I'd just be all day taking people around the patch. Great fun. Full confidence in the airframe and the engine. I have no issues whatsoever. I'll maintain it quite well and look after everything. But yeah, my sort of rule of thumb for the the passenger, is that if you can physically fit in that hole, you can fly. It's like a gauge, a go-no gauge. As I said, I've had some big boys in the front there, and I've had no issues climbing out and having some fun up there. So yeah, the plane's got a very good useful load. It's not limited at all, and its performance does not drop away when you go 2 up. The Rotec 2800 2.8 litre engine is a geared engine at a 3-to-2 reduction, so through that gearing we're able to swing a very big prop. That's a 76 by 55 inch pitch prop, and it really hauls nicely with that gearing. It gives you more prop diameter capability, and the engine is about 110 horsepower, but it's the prop diameter that gives you the good hauling capacity. Otherwise, it's pretty much a standard sort of Flybaby, I guess. There's nothing else unusual. Let's have a look at the cockpit. Get the sun in the right spot. Push the plane around a bit here. So you can see the cockpit there. This is the pilot's view. So here you've got a throttle control. And the red one would normally be mixture on like a Continental engine, but that's because the Bing carburetor doesn't have any mixture control. It's just set. That's my trim tab on the elevator, my trim. And then you've got your basic instruments, bunch of standard engine instruments, some flight instruments, slip ball and some switches. Got your rudder pedals down there with the brakes, either side of that helmet. You just see the foot brakes, heel brakes on the ground, and you see the cables on the rudder cables on the rudder pedals extend through to the front. And you've just got your normal seat here which can come forward. And that's that. You've got your stick. Where am I there? There's your control stick. The button at the rear is intercom, and the front one is talk to outside. And the front cockpit, and they've got the compass up there. This is their view. So when you're flying this plane, you've got someone's big bonce in the front there. You can't really see, because of the longer nose, you're set a long way further back here, so got a much longer nose to contend with. And when you've got someone sitting in the front, you pretty much can't see through them, so you've got to, when you're landing, I'll generally side slip so I can see the runway. Otherwise you can't see much, because you've got to also look through that wing as well. But it's not a problem. This plane is easy to fly, easy to land, easy to take off. It's a delight. Yeah, it's really a doddle. Yeah, climbs well, performs well. Yeah, I've taken it pretty much halfway around Australia, most of the air shows. And anyway, so front cockpit, let's have a look here. So, you see you've got your seat belts there, just a basic wooden seat. Got the battery in the middle of the legs, clamped down with the rudder pedals either side. You've got a throttle quadrant. You've got, I put an airspeed indicator in, and an altimeter, and a tachometer, RPM. Switches there, a headphone, microphone, press to talk, and intercom. I'm thinking about putting the intercom button on the stick, but probably won't get around to it. You can see the aileron push rods just under the seat there. You can see them moving there. And that control stick goes right back to the one in the pilot's cockpit. And that's pretty much it. What else? No, that's about it. Compass at the front there. Got your fuel tank, and in front of that the oil tank for the Rotec engine sits just in front of the firewall, about an 8-litre tank. That's that. We get back down, we stay on this patch here. Beautiful day here in Taiwan. I've just flown this plane, I had it out for about 3/4 of an hour or so. Just a local flight, did some circuits. Love doing circuits in it, touch and goes. Always good fun. Big crowd out there today, so they're all enjoying it. Such a unique aircraft. I'm really surprised a lot more people haven't built these. It's no harder to build than a Flybaby, and it's so much more fun if you can take a passenger up. I don't quite understand the single seat thing. I mean, I guess if you're flying a pit special or something, but how much more fun is it when you can take someone up and share it with them, share the experience, take someone who's never flown before on an open cockpit ride with a Radial engine. It's just awesome. When we have air shows or fly-ins at this airfield here, and we take the general public up for joyrides, laps around the patch, we've always got a queue lined up in front of this plane because everybody wants to go open cockpit, particularly if it's a nice sunny day like today in Melbourne. Beautiful day, just incredible day. And yeah, but for taking up joy flights, yeah, it's just a dream. I get so much pleasure taking someone up, kids and mums and dads who've never flown before or never flown in an open cockpit small aeroplane like this with a Radial out the front. Yeah, it's just so much fun. So much fun. Yeah, I'm surprised that a lot more people haven't built them. Oh, that was another thing. The undercarriage is all steel. So this is streamlined tube, steel. And it's got brakes, of course. But other than that, yeah, this plane would be no harder to build than a single seat Flybaby. Not much more work at all. Anyway, I just thought that I'd make this video about the Flybaby. I don't think I've ever done one like this before, where I've actually done a walk around. And it really deserves it because it's such a great little aeroplane. And thought I'd share this with the Flybaby community. Anyway, guys, hope you're having a great weekend. And I'll catch you again soon. If you've got any questions, just email Paul at Rotec Aerosport, ROTEC, aerosport.com. And I'll be more than happy to talk about the aeroplane and maybe even sell you an engine. Cheers. Bye-bye.